Welcome back. This is Club Rico on the Safe and Effective podcast, and there is a lot happening today, the end of February 2025, and we're going to go over international politics. One big story that's near and dear to me that I always cover is what's going on in the Ukraine. The special military operation of the Federation has been extremely successful. Now it's official. As of today, the United States owns the Ukraine, or what's left of it. We own the minerals, which is all they really had left to offer. But to be honest with you, there's a port in Odessa that beelines to Crimea. And I guess Trump was like, look, now that we just did this bullshit 360 deal with Zelensky, we're the ones in control of everything in the Ukraine, so make a deal with us. But even with control over everything in Ukraine, we don't have anything. The Americans have nothing. That's why, like I said in the interview, and I did a video before Keir Starmer met with Trump, and I said he's wasting his time. We are not going into a nuclear war against the Russians. We are not going into a hot war with the Russians. We're not going into a cold war against the Russians. We are not playing thumb war against the Russians. We know our place. We do business. We don't fight actual fighters. We fight skirmishes. We don't fight wars against actual countries. That's bad for business because it's a 50-50 shot always. And if you accidentally lose, you lose everything. We are not throwing away our sovereignty and our entire country for the sake of some goddamn Europeans and their gay agenda. The Europeans are completely owned by the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, Macron, they're all these gay men who are pretty much reshaping the Western world in their image. We will no longer be participating. You guys can wipe out your populations with homosexuality if you want to and bring in Muslims from the third world who are going to clash with said gays, and obviously they're going to wipe them. There's not going to be any Europeans left anyways. And they wanted us to go down with the ship. Trump just completely upended that. And that will not be happening. I cannot stand this piece of shit. And you know what? We don't even call him Zelensky anymore. His new name is Jiggly Dick. That's what we call him. We call him the Jiggler or Jiggly Dick. This is why.
And we sent $250 billion to this guy right here. And somebody are worried about Elon Musk finding corruption. That's why I don't take things in this life too serious anymore.
That's Mr. Jiggly Dick himself. What do you know about Zelensky before you guys were screaming how he's a champion and we got to help the Ukrainians and Slava Ukraina and putting all those fucking flags for this unknown, mysterious country in your bio? What did you know about them first? What did you know? You guys have a history of being wrong. You also have a history of being scammed. You have a history of being dumb. You don't have a history of making smart, informed decisions. If the shoe fits, wear it. If you feel like I'm talking to you, I probably am. What is your history shown? Where is your success? You're big critics of Musk and Trump. Where have you done better than them and what department in life? Because I don't see the results. I did see you, however, supporting Jiggly Dick. This is supposed to be your military leader. He sent 500,000 men from his country to die. Him being gay means he sent the straight men, the soldiers, to die, and he didn't give a damn because they're not gay. His agenda, his priority is gay people, not Ukrainians. I try to tell people there's a difference between gender ideology, sexuality, and loyalty to your race or nationalism. Loyalty to their sexual orientation trumps being black, being American, being Ukrainian, being white. They're all under the umbrella of gay. His priorities were set from day one. That's why he did not negotiate. That's why he decided to not surrender and just save the lives of his people in his country and work out a deal. He has no country no more. The United States is negotiating. I'll let the experts tell you, but JD Vance actually had some choice words for Mr. Jiggly Dick here, and we're going to listen to those.
Path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, parts of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014. So
I was not here.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, what the situation the same. That people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel. We signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract.
What Jiggly Dick is referring to is what we known as Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. Minsk 1 agreement and the Minsk 2 agreement. And it turns out Angela Merkel, der Meine der Deutschlander, she admitted that the actual Minsk 1 and 2 agreements were only to pacify the Russians while they built up their military forces in the Ukraine. She admitted that. So there was never a deal.
Yes, but after that, he broke
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think
Exactly. Thank you, JD Vance. This basically what he did was he found the most polite way to say, "You ungrateful little piece of dog shit. You should not be here disrespecting us by begging us for more when you were literally campaigning with our enemies so that we would not be in control. And now you want to come gravel to us to help you? Go to hell." He said that in the most polite way possible. And honestly, he didn't even have to say it that nice. Let's see what Jiggly Dick has to say now.
that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait,
answer?
no, you're too loud talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this.
I-
You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks.
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
This
We
cabinet.
gave you
I
the
said
stupid president $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military equipment.
You
And you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about you?
If you didn't have our military equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
in 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe less.
in 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Okay,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
Accept
times.
that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
No, you're not
very,
thankful.
your people are dying.
Tell you.
You're running low on soldiers. Listen,
Don't play.
you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go. And I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war, but
You're saying you don't want a
but I
ceasefire.
said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire
guarantees.
because you get a ceasefire faster than anybody.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
Doesn't
with
matter for you what
that wasn't with me.
It
That was
doesn't-
with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
but this
That
is
was
your-
that
this
was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama who gave you sheets and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards. It's going to be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
Trump, take the fucking cards, throw them on the ground, piss on them, then use one of Elon Musk's flamethrowers to set them on fire. Why are you literally arguing with this man about helping him? Why? We don't owe the Ukraine shit. We owe them nothing. We owe them nothing. We don't speak their language. They are borders with Russia. They are not on our borders. We have an ocean between us. There are 30 countries in between. We owe them nothing. Why are you arguing with Jiggly Dick? Why are you arguing with a man that plays the piano with his penis? This man why are you arguing with him? Leave them to their own devices. Let Russia just take the entire country, then work out a deal for minerals and resources with Russia, which is the rightful owner anyway. The best parts of the Ukraine are in the Donbass. The Russians already have it. Western Ukraine to the Polish border, there's nothing but Odessa and Kiev, what value do they generate? There's no factories. They don't make anything in the Ukraine anymore. Their entire government is subsidized by the United States. Well, it was. Now that we're stopping all of our foreign aid and we closed down USAID, what do they have? Nothing. They have a bunch of jiggly dicks and a bunch of Azov battalion Nazis. I don't understand why Vance and Trump are trying so hard to maintain this relationship with the Ukraine. It's almost as useless as our relationship with Israel, which also benefits us zero. It's just two useless countries with worthless leaders that we do not need. America first means abandoning all of this old way of thinking, this old way of doing business, this old way of projecting force in faraway places. America first means we literally get away with where we do away with all of this. There has to be a consequence for a guy with an attitude like Zelensky, with Jiggly Dick. There has to be consequences. Why are you letting him argue with you? Who are you to argue with me? Who are you? You're nobody. This is ridiculous. This is my biggest problem because I don't understand why we're trying so hard to deal with these people. But I'll be honest with you, we got away with highway robbery today. I'm going to let Alexander Mercouris and Alexander Christorafu explain how.
All right, Alexander, let's talk about the mineral deal, the rare earth mineral deal, but it's actually a mineral resources deal, if you can even call it a deal. But it covers rare earth, okay, but it also covers oil, gas, and logistics ports. So, I mean, it's pretty much covering all of Ukraine's resources. And so we're most likely going to get a signature from and Trump is saying that this mineral deal is going to be good for Ukraine. No security guarantees, but it provides security in the fact that, according to Trump, according to his statements, the fact that U.S. Business will be in Ukraine, and no one's going to mess with Ukraine if U.S. investment and business is in Ukraine. So that's the security guarantee that's implied in this arrangement. So what are your thoughts with this rare earth minerals deal, which is actually minerals and resources and just about everything in Ukraine? It's a terrible deal. They took off, I mean, they amended it. They took off the 500 billion cap, all of that stuff. But it's a terrible deal. But it looks like it's going to be signed unless something happens. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first thing to say is that it is the most bizarre, the most extraordinary document in terms I have ever seen. We will come to that shortly. I'd like to just say a few things because I've read many treaties in my time. I've worked through many commercial contracts. I've seen all sorts of things of this kind. I've never seen anything like this deal in my life. That's the first thing. This document, maybe I should say, in my life. But there's one thing I really do want to address first, which is that a lot of the narrative that we've been hearing over the last couple of days is that this document is actually better for Ukraine than the document that was presented to Ukraine by Vance and Rubio to Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference, and which Scott Bassent had tried to get Zelensky to agree to when he went to Kiev. Now, I actually think this is completely untrue. I think this is much worse. If I was, an economic advisor to Zelensky, I would say this deal is far worse than the previous one. All right, I mean, you're going to set up a fund, and according to the previous deal, the United States would own it 100%, and now it's only going to own 50%. But this $500 billion cap that people were talking about was at least a cap. It meant that, once the United States got its $500 billion, presumably it would have walked away, and this arrangement would have ended, and Ukraine would have been able to move forward and sort out its own, future as it wanted. And maybe if you sort of wanted to negotiate about that, you could have reduced it, you could have found some way around it, and all that, or something of that kind. Now that cap has been removed. So far as I can tell, reading this document,
this arrangement is going to continue indefinitely. So for ever, in perpetuity, Ukraine is supposed to give 50% of the profits from exploitation of its resources to the United States. I mean, there is no end point when this apparently stops. So how people could see this as a better deal than the one that was offered to Zelensky before, I am completely unable to see. That is my first point. The second point is that this isn't, in any conceivable sense, even a workable deal. I mean, usually when agreements of this kind, when countries move towards agreements of this kind, when that happens, firstly you get some kind of statement of agreement, points of agreement. The United States and Ukraine want to work together to develop Ukraine's resources. So there's points of agreement about that. Then there's all kinds of contracts agreed, that there is proper debate about how mechanisms are going to be set up. There's pricing formulas. There's a list of the resources that are actually going to be exploited and what they are and what their presumed value is. There's nothing of that here. There's absolutely nothing. It's just incredibly vague. It appears on its face to give the United States the right to anything it wants anywhere in Ukraine. As I said, basically perpetuity. Manufacturing is also ports, logistics. The United States has been given a perpetual lien over everything that Ukraine has. And within this agreement, there are all sorts of political provisions which would have no place usually in an agreement of this economic nature. So we have a statement that Ukraine, gave away its nuclear weapons back in whenever it was in the 90s. We've already discussed this many times. That clearly was inserted at Zelensky's insistence. It's completely irrelevant to an economic deal of this nature.
I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, even this paper that they signed today, which was shorter than the average rental agreement when you move into an apartment somewhere, it's extremely vague. It's open-ended. I'll be honest with you. The paper that was signed today was not for the Ukrainians. It's for the Russians, because once the Russians take the rest of the Ukraine, the Americans want to say, hey, we did have an agreement. Make a deal with us, work out something with us where we can at least get some of our money back from the minerals, and then we'll make an agreement with you to keep coming to you for minerals. I'll be honest with you, we're going to walk away from Zelensky. After this exchange today with Vance and Trump, there's no way we can continue. Trump, I haven't seen Trump this mad in a long time. Trump barked at the man. I haven't seen Trump pissed off like this. And I can't remember the last time I seen him this angry. So we are definitely going to just walk away from Zelensky. We're not sending any more weapons. We're not sending any more money anyway. The agreement we have is just that, and we're just hoping the Russians will accept the agreement later and say, well, they do have some rights, maybe the Russians will feel generous and want to give us access to some of these minerals, or let us open up some way of transporting minerals out of there. We're hoping the Russians might consider it, but they don't have to. This war ended the way the Russians decided it would end. Nothing more, nothing less. This was over before it started. I'm glad Alexander Christophorou and Alexander Mercouris cleared that up for us. We are 100% going to walk away from this conflict. We're going to walk away from Mr. Jiggly Dick. We walked away from 80 billion in materials in Afghanistan. What is it? We had a whole base with 80 billion in military supplies. And we left that in Afghanistan. We left Vietnam. We left Singapore. We left South Korea. We have bases, but we're not there. You know, we failed at nation building in these different countries. We're not going to be able to nation build in Ukraine. We can barely build our own nation here in the United States. So that's not happening. This was just a huge waste of life. But remember, there is a depopulation agenda. The globalists got what they wanted, a reduced population of men. Not as many men as they're hoping for, but they still have today. This is only 2025. This is Agenda 2030. They got 5 more years to get the formula right to delete a lot of men from the face of the earth. So we just gotta, give them time. I'm sure they'll have their successes. Like and subscribe, share the video. This is Club Rico, Right Wing Rico, Safe and Effective Podcast. We'll be back in a couple of hours. I have another story that I wanted to talk about that actually fits in with today's news. So I will talk to you again on X and on Rumble. This is going to go on YouTube. Some of these other videos are a little too spicy for YouTube, but this one should be good enough for now. Thank you. And cheers. And remember, F the World Economic Forum, F Klaus Schwab, F the World Health Organization. Screw them all. And I'll just say it, fuck Jiggly Dick.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com.